Despite a credible sexual assault allegation made by one of Biden's former staffers when he was in the Senate, there are some of his supporters now on social media who are attempting to either smear the journalists who have reported on it or the woman herself, Tara Reid. Now, one of the reporters who did pick up this story was Ryan Grimm, a TYT contributor, but he actually wrote the piece for The Intercept, which we all know is a fantastic media outlet. They've done a lot of incredibly important investigative reporting. And Howard Dean, of all people, decided to make a comment about how, I don't know, maybe we shouldn't trust this story because it's coming from The Intercept. He tweeted the following: "This story may or may not be true, but it's from The Intercept, which, one, is often not credible, two, was started by Glenn Greenwald, who helped Assange and Putin undermine the 2016 election. I tend to believe victims, but skeptical about sources like this. They are the fox of the left." Now, real quick, Glenn Greenwald did respond, tweeting, "Howard Dean, with one lying tweet, has convinced a huge number of extremely stupid and gullible Democrats that The Intercept and I are responsible for Tara Reid's accusations against Biden when we had nothing to do with it, and she's speaking for herself." And she did give detailed allegations about the alleged sexual assault during Katie Halper's interview on her podcast. So, we've talked about it on the show, but you guys can check out those details for yourselves. They sound incredibly credible to me.
Yeah, well, he's got a lot of nerve calling something the fox of the left, Howard Dean does. We call him things names. I think you're the reek of the left. I think that you got unmanned by the establishment. You were a progressive back in 2004. And they destroyed you for being a progressive. And then you became a sad little puppet lobbyist. That's what I think. And so now you go out there and serve the establishment and do their hatchet work for them. So let's review this. First of all, the establishment says all women must be believed, especially if they accuse Republicans or progressives. But if they accuse someone who's an establishment Democrat, we're going to blame the media who reported it. All right. By the way, this is not the only time. This is an old trick of the establishment media. A CNN analyst, in analyzing the story about how Mike Bloomberg was on tape saying that he targeted blacks and Latinos on purpose for stop and frisk, the analyst said, yeah, but the person who found the tape was Benjamin Dixon, and he's a Bernie Sanders supporter. So there's a lot of questions about that.
Yeah. So, Cenk, we actually have that video. Do you mind if we show exactly what the CNN contributor said? Her name is Christina Alessi. Here's what she had to say about Ben Dixon. And his reporting was excellent, by the way.
So here's the thing. Important context here. We don't have the full tape. So this is obviously snippets that have been released. The podcaster and the writer that released this sound is clearly a Bernie supporter. If you look at his Twitter feed, he's very anti-Bloomberg. He is promoting a hashtag, Bloomberg is a racist. We don't know how he got the sound to begin with. So lots of questions are being asked, especially on the timing of this. As you noted in your introduction, a poll yesterday shows Bloomberg rising in the polls and particularly strong support in the African-American community. He polled at 22%, just behind Joe Biden at 27%. So the timing here and the mission here all calling into question.
Are you kidding me, man? So first of all, what they left out of that story, you want to talk about context and the questions being asked, is Benjamin Dixon is black. So they're like, oh, he's anti-Bloomberg. Yeah, he's anti-Bloomberg because he's black. And Bloomberg said he targets black people on purpose. Is that biased? Is that a biased thing to say? It's insanity. It's insanity. And what earthly difference does it make? It's on tape, and the tape is in full context and not edited. But to me, the most infuriating part is if you're honest about your political perspective and you say you're a progressive, no, that's it. Nothing. I don't care if you bring facts. I don't care if you're a sexual assault victim. I don't care if you're African American. I don't care about anything. You're disqualified because you had the audacity to be honest. On the other hand, if you work at CNN or New York Times and you all support Joe Biden, but if you're dishonest and you're total liars and pretend that you're unbiased, then it's fair, then it's okay. Then you can smear progressives all day long. By the way, you could also smear the right wing, you can smear anyone you like, as long as you pretend that, oh, golly gee, I have no opinion at all. Oh, did I just say everything super positive about Biden and cover up stories about Biden and smear Bernie Sanders? Oh, golly gee, I'm the unbiased one. Get out of here. And Howard Dean is the worst of the worst. What has happened to him is one of the most sickening things I've ever seen.
Journalistic ethics used to play out, which is you hide your political beliefs and your political ideology from the audience, really does lead the way for more nefarious reporting, because they will report their biases, or their bias will somehow seep into the reporting in sneakier ways, but the bias is still there, right? And it plays out in topic selection for their shows, whether or not they're willing to take sexual assault allegations against a politician seriously, the types of people that they consider experts. If you can remember when Joy Reid had that body language expert on to just totally tear Bernie Sanders apart. I mean, that's the way traditional media types will like get their bias out there. Like, it doesn't have to be Joy Reid saying it, but Joy Reid and her producers book a woman on who's an expert in order to go after Bernie Sanders, right? So I actually think being honest with the audience about your political views and your ideology is important, because you're being clear and honest with them about what your preferences are. And I just know for me personally, since I know my preferences are out there, when I'm making a point about, let's say, someone who I typically would not agree with, a politician I typically would not agree with, I know that I have to come with as much evidence as possible to back up what I'm saying, because I don't want people to think that I just have this commentary and this coverage based on my biases. I want to make sure I can provide the evidence to show, why this politician is right or why this politician is wrong. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course. But Anna, we're too nice. You say this all the time about me. You're right. We're too nice to them. We're having conversations as if they actually are honest actors. They're not. These mainstream media people are total hacks. So listen, let me prove it. Let's have a conversation about two things. Number one, about sexual assault allegations against a presidential candidate. So New York Times, CNN, LA Times, legitimate question, super legitimate question, and I'm genuinely curious. Do you think that it's not important? That's not important? Because if it was, when it was against Trump, you thought it was the most important thing in the world. I thought it was the most important thing in the world. I still think it's the most important thing in the world. And and don't even bother lying. No one will believe you. Your parents won't believe you. Your kids won't believe you. Don't tell me that if this was about Bernie Sanders, you wouldn't cover it. Everyone knows.
Or Donald Trump, right? Or any other politician.
Trump, they already did cover it. That's a fact.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
And about Bernie Sanders, if he said anything, let alone did anything, they covered 24/7, and they know it. And don't pretend, because you're a goddamn liar if you're pretending that you wouldn't cover it if it was Bernie Sanders. Everyone would lead with that story, and everyone knows it. Okay, so do you think it's not important? You tell me. Or do you not believe her? If you have reason not to believe her, if you have evidence that we don't have, then by God, you should share that, because then I feel bad for Joe Biden. But do you ever want to be a reporter? Do you actually care about being honest and covering things and telling your viewers and your readers what's actually true? No, you don't, because all you do is protect the status quo. That's your job. Your job is not to be a reporter. It's to be a servant of the establishment. So now let's go to my example. So New York Times, LA Times, CNN, almost every outlet, when I was running for Congress, thought it was headline material that I made inappropriate jokes literally decades ago.
Which you've apologized for, by the way.
Yeah. And why was it so important? Because Bernie Sanders had endorsed me, and Bernie Sanders is running for president. So, hey, listen. Hey, don't complain, progressives. Bernie Sanders is running for president, so that's our standard. So anyone connected to him, anything they did decades ago, anything they said decades ago must be held against Bernie Sanders. Okay, now Bernie Sanders is running against who? He's running against Joe Biden. And this is not someone Joe Biden has endorsed. This is not something that someone said. It's something that Joe Biden himself did. And it's not a light charge. You know, it's not, hey, he played with my hair during a press conference. I don't know why he does that, but I get it. That's a different level. This is flat out, over the top, crazy sexual assault. So, Jennifer Medina, you covered the story at the New York Times about Bernie's endorsement of me. So you tell me, Jennifer Medina, why are you not writing this story? Michael Finnegan at the LA Times, you wrote that story. You thought it was such a big deal. Oh my God, somebody running for Congress and Bernie endorsed him and he said this 21 years ago. Oh my God, it's so important because I care about women. I care about women and women's rights. A woman just got sexually assaulted and you don't give a damn. You don't give a damn. That guy could be president. CNN writers that wrote about it, every single writer that wrote about my story, you tell me why you don't give a damn about Tara Reade and how she says that Joe Biden sexually assaulted her. Do you not believe her, or do you think it's not? You can't say it's not important because you thought it was the most important thing in the world, what someone said years ago that was tangentially related to Bernie Sanders. So you goddamn hypocrites, you total liars, why don't you explain yourselves? You won't. You'll hide. You'll hide behind, oh my God, I'm mainstream media. I don't say it. Oh, no. I'm unbiased. And you'll bury this story. You're in the middle of burying it right now. You're the most biased people in America, and you're the biggest liars in America.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.